Dun 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 dun.
No.
How do you do?
No. Just no.
How do you do, kind
If
folks?
you think that's the theme song for a Percy Jackson podcast type thing, I don't know what this really is. But no.
It's reviews of
just
all the chapters.
no.
It's a book club.
That is not.
Percy Book Club.
That is not how this goes.
The Oak Club. The Oak Club.
No.
Just no book club. It's
no.
OLOK
Why?
Club. Oak.
What?
Oak Club.
Okay, no one understands what you're saying, so let's just move on.
Oh, roasted. Well, they will later on in the podcast.
They will not. I don't even understand what you're saying.
Well, that's what happens when you have an imagination. Oh, roasted. JK, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
3 old ladies knitting the socks of death.
Indeed.
Let's discuss the chapter.
You don't love me too. That's fine.
I love you too.
Yeah, there we go. But we're going on this chapter though, kind folks.
Just trying to get to the point.
Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, Book Club, Chapter 2.
3 old ladies knitting the socks of death.
Quite
an interesting title.
They're
Socks
all
of
interesting.
Death.
They're all interesting titles.
3 old ladies. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you know who these old ladies are. But we'll get to that later.
Oh, we'll get to that later, yes. But anyway, this is kind of a slower chapter. Nothing really happening. Ish. It's basically like Percy, basically what happens is Percy kind of...
He starts thinking he's losing it because
everyone's like,
Mrs. Dodds never existed.
Yeah, this person never existed or whatever.
Even though she did, they just don't remember it.
Yeah, and
as we find out later in the chapter, it's because of the mist, is what it's called.
Apparently he's suffering, he's getting D's and all this stuff, and then goes to F's.
Oh, and the weather's been really weird. We find out later on in the book why the weather is weird, but I won't spoil anything because the mister over here hasn't read the entire book or series or any of the other series related to this yet.
Yes, this is the point. This is me learning the world and seeing the world.
I have to tone back all the information I know.
Yes.
So, trying to be good.
Yes. This is the point. Me learning the world and you already an expert-ish on the world. So
expert-ish. Expert for sure.
Expert for sure? Okay, well, expert for sure. This is the point. That's how we bounce off ideas and all that. Like, what's going on? Different perspectives. That's the whole point of podcasting. Roasted. Anyway, so this chapter is really quite not as eventful as the last one, but you made an interesting comparison there that I would like to address in the book or in this chapter.
I was gonna finish summarizing what's happening first.
So finish summarizing.
But anyway, Percy overhears Grover and Mr. Brunner talking about how Grover is worried about Percy being alone over the summer.
In the summer solstice.
And the summer solstice deadline. And the fact that he saw Mrs. Dodds and what she was, and a kindly one is what she's called, or what they refer to her as. But they don't know that he has overheard this until Percy and Grover are riding back to the city on the same Greyhound bus, and Percy mentions something about it, and they get into a whole discussion, and Grover's just kind of like, call me if you need me, kind of thing, but doesn't really explain a whole lot until they see 3 old ladies knitting, 2 of them knitting giant pairs of socks, and the middle one cuts the string. And Grover asks Percy what he saw, and Percy says that, and it doesn't say this word for word, but it alludes to the fact that the snipping of the yarn equates to someone, possibly Percy, dying. And that's the end of the chapter.
Dying.
That's what I said. Dying.
That's what you said. Dying.
Dying.
Yeah. Dying.
Dying.
Yeah. Isn't she cute, kind folks?
He thinks I say dying weird. I don't know what he's talking about. But anyway.
You don't want to discuss that.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay, I guess not.
Getting back to Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
Yeah. Anyway, fine. If you watch Hercules, well, you'll know what that is about.
Yes, so those 3 women would be the Fates.
Yeah, those. There's a core.
I always picture the scene from Hercules too, where they're trying to cut his string and it won't cut.
Yeah, the Disney movie.
I always picture that from the Disney movie. Every
Yeah.
single time I read that line or hear that line.
At first, I was like, "What the hell are these old ladies knitting gigantic socks? What's the deal with that?" And then I was like, "Oh, the thread. Oh, well, duh, of course."
But anyway, you wanted to talk about the fact that Mr. Brunner is a Latin teacher and how he says Latin class is life or death for Percy, even though we don't know this yet, but is Greek, not Latin. And this series is about the Greek gods, not the Roman gods. So
Yeah,
Roman equates to Latin, Greek
Greek.
equates to Greek.
Yeah.
So I'm confused as to why the Latin is life or death. But actually, if you think about later on series, if you've read these books already, then maybe I can see it.
Some setup kind, folks. But here's the
let's
thing.
see what Sam over here thinks of
Oh.
this.
Not what I think I know, but here it is.
What you think you know.
What I
what
think-
you
what
think
I
you
think,
know.
I think I know. Yeah, okay, fine. Here's the thing, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Greek gods inspired the Roman gods a
Yes,
lot.
yes.
Like Zeus.
Correct.
Like Jupiter is Zeus, basically,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yes.
And
Some slight differences between, but yes, the
yes.
Greek filter into Roman
yeah, so
and
my
so on and so forth.
my take on it is this, and he talks about Greek gods in this chapter, correct, or did he not? Did he teach
Some
about?
last chapter and this chapter, a little. It's both. It's
Yeah.
tied through both.
But
Yes, he
he's-
talks about Greek gods. Yes,
Yeah, but he's talking about Latin, though, right?
he's teaching a Latin class.
Teaching a Latin class, but about
But
Greek
he's
gods.
teaching about Greek gods, not Roman gods, which is interesting to me.
Though. Yeah. That's what you said in the car when we were listening to Audible, sponsored by Audible. No, it's not. We wish. Anyway, though, listen to this Audible, thing with Unabridged, which is actually pretty nice. Anyway, though, I think what happened is,
I don't know if the author did that on purpose or if it was just oversight, but
I mean, here's the thing: if you're in a prissy, I don't know, huge private school, what are
you
you
would
gonna,
know all about that.
well, not that much, but
You still
I-
went to
I
a
skirt-
fancy
I
public
skirted.
private school
I
in a
skirted-
big city,
Yeah.
and I went to a public high school across from a cow field.
Yeah,
We had a barn. We had a barn, y'all.
I skirted the line. Let's put it that way.
You did not skirt the line. You were across that line.
Fine,
you were
a
far
private boarding
across.
school. Let's
Yeah,
put it that
okay.
way.
Yes, you did
Yes.
not go to a boarding school.
I
He
did.
is definitely a step or two above where you were.
Yeah, I skirted the line there. But anyway, so which one they're going to teach? They're going to teach Greek, or are they going to teach Latin? They're going to teach Latin.
If they're teaching Latin the language, they need to be talking about Roman gods. My Latin teacher in high school talked about the Roman stuff, not the Greek stuff.
Well, I don't know.
I think
maybe-
they talked a little bit about the Greek stuff, but
Yeah,
not a
they-
lot. We talked more about it in English class when we read Greek literature.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story on this, but I'm assuming that this Latin teacher is a god,
He's not a god.
or he's a creature.
I like where you're going with this. There is some alluding to that in this chapter.
Yes.
So yes, I think it's definitely he is teaching Latin because that is the course that is needing to be taught. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of answering my question now.
Yeah, there you
but,
go. I mean, yeah, just thinking about it.
But because of his place in the book and his relationship to demigods, he is teaching about that side of things and just slowly educating Percy about those things
Ish, yes.
as he's, I don't want to say grooming, but as he's it's almost grooming.
Teaching.
grooming him for his future.
Yeah,
For
I
Percy's
guess.
future, because it is his future. And it's not like he can just outrun it, because that doesn't happen when you're a demigod.
Yeah. Plus, I still say maybe he's so in depth with like gods or whatever, and he knows like, oh, Greek gods basically were the Roman gods anyway. I mean, Rome
I'm sure
took
he
over.
does know that.
I don't want to deal too much into history with this thing because I don't think a lot of history is kind of intertwined with these books. I don't know, but
Actually,
maybe.
there is
there
a good
is?
bit.
Oh, okay.
The author did a ton of research on
well,
all
good.
of this kind of stuff.
I don't know.
But anyway, yes, Mr. Brunner is someone important.
Yeah.
We get some
Well, I know that.
alluding to who and what he is.
Yeah, but anyway,
And we'll
it's
find
like-
out in future chapters more about him.
Yeah, but anyway.
We will see him again.
No, I'm well aware of that. But anyway, I would still say Rome took over Greece, right? And, Latin kind of took over that area too. And, I don't know, just kind of stuck. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't
Well,
know.
regular Latin courses wouldn't teach. I think it's because of who he is
No, yeah.
in Greek culture and
True that.
in
Yeah.
in his connections with
Maybe-
Greek demigods and Greek gods that he is teaching that in his classes.
Yeah, maybe
And
it's like.
as a private school, I would assume you can kind of almost do your own curriculum. That took too much energy to get out of my mouth. Bleh.
That's what she said. Oh! Roasted. Anyway, though.
You crazy man.
Yeah, anyway. But, to an extent, yes. Knowing from public school what they can teach, private schools, what I've experienced in private school, it's sort of, yeah. There's a
Kinda
line.
do-
There's a line, but, I mean, 9th grade, I read the Hunger Games book.
We did not do that.
Yeah.
In class?
Yeah, that was one of our assignments.
What? I
Yeah.
wish.
Yeah.
I was over here reading of Mice and Men,
Oh, I read
hating
that too.
life.
I love that
I
book.
can't remember, like, Old Man in the Sea. That's the most pointless book I've ever read. I don't understand it.
Well,
Old Man in the Sea? It's just
Oh,
so
oh, the Old Man.
depressing. Yeah, not of Mice and Men.
I was gonna say,
Old Man in the Sea.
I'm
That
about
one,
to
like,
lay down some law there.
no. I mean, I didn't like it because I had to read it. If I read it of my own accord, I'd probably like a lot more of the books that I read. There are a couple books that I still really like To Kill a Mockingbird. I loved To Kill a
Yeah.
Mockingbird.
It's a great book.
It's so good.
Of Mice and Men, though, is a really great book. It was originally a play, but we're not talking about that. What? No, talking about itching. Yeah, I'll stop itching. But anyway, though. We're not talking about Mice and Men, one of the great literary classics. We're talking about Percy Jackson, another literary classic in its own rights. The end. And,
I can get behind that.
yeah, you can? Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of... It's starting to plant the seeds there. I would say that there's... Oh yeah, also, almost forgot about this. I know why you think it's better language to read for dyslexic people.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do. You want to hear what it is
Sure.
from an English background?
Sure.
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 Sure. You want...
Also, I do want to talk about his... Sorry, I'm getting off. I'll let you explain first, but I want to talk about his description of dyslexia as well.
Indeed, quite. Anyway, though, I believe it's the reason why I've noticed in this chapter a lot more than the previous chapter. I don't know why, but here it is. There's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of repetition in this book, a lot more than I would say like other books.
Repetition in what way?
Like for Mr. Brenner or whoever, Teacher Brenner, Professor Brenner, whoever his name is, Brenner.
Mr. Brenner.
Yeah, Mr. Brenner. He's
Brunner.
Yeah, there's not, from what I've heard through the Audible book, there's not a lot of hims or hers. It's a lot of like that type of thing. Also, there's a lot of alliteration too.
Well, it's hard too when you're talking about so many characters and going back and forth too to remember who's who.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like, it's...
But that
it's already,
doesn't really affect a dyslexic's mind either.
I don't know.
Speaking from my personal experience, I
Indeed,
know
yeah.
everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's because you know what the word is. So when you see it, it's like, oh, there it is, the word.
Oh, I can still know what a word is and see it and not recognize it at all.
Well, cool.
Sometimes the word "the" doesn't look like a word.
Interesting. Well,
Or I can't spell R.
there's also a lot of alliteration in there too. I noticed a lot of double D's, not like that, but like, forget which passage, but there was like a couple of things where there was like beginning sentences started with like a couple words that began with A back to back, and a lot of D's back to back, and a lot of B's back to back. There's also...
It's interesting that you're noticing these things, but they have nothing to do with a dyslexic mind.
I don't know. Maybe it's easier to read.
You've never had to you will never understand that. I don't mean that in a mean way.
I mean, I know
It's
I
because
won't,
you've never
but...
experienced it, and there's no way to make you experience it unless that's how your brain works.
Yeah.
There's literally, dyslexia is a miswiring of your brain.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know I'll never experience it, but I'm just noticing, like,
the writing style.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying from, like, my perspective, if it's easier to read, there's different things in there that I'm noticing that's different from other, like, novels that I know about. So
that I would say is it's more how it's laid out on the page, how the paragraphs are shorter. It's not a chunk that I have to read through, which this also may be a me thing and not an everyone who has dyslexia thing, but if I see a paragraph that's literally the entire page, I'm going to be sitting at the first sentence for probably at least 5 minutes.
That's, yeah, all right.
Trying to process it all.
Yeah.
And then freaking out that I have to read all of this.
Yeah.
So the way it's broken up is really easy to understand, and it's broken up into, even like some of the paragraphs are only one sentence, which that even isn't technically a paragraph, but it's broken up that way so that you can understand it a little better and follow it. And you also have those kind of breaks built into the text already, which is really helpful for me. The thing about him when he described dyslexia, I wish I could find it where it was. I don't know if I'll be able to find it.
Well, also there was like this weird thing they kept on saying dorm room.
Yeah. Well,
instead of just like dorm or his room, which I found pretty interesting too. I don't know. Maybe that was another type of thing with like the repetition of words. I don't know if that's a connection. Comment below if that is a connection or not, but I would never know because I'm not dyslexic. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
That's
something. But okay.
I don't know.
Let's see. I'm trying to find where he says. Okay, here we go. I got so frustrated I threw the blah 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 Greek mythology book across my dorm room. I can relate to that 100%. Sometimes I'm reading and I get so fed up with the fact that I can't get through 2 sentences that I throw my book across the room. Or I have. I don't do that anymore, but I did when I was younger. He says, the words had started swimming off the page, circling my head. The letters doing 180s. And were riding skateboards, as if they were riding skateboards, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then he goes to talk about how words that look very similar, like there only is like a vowel or a few vowels different, is really difficult. I completely relate to the few vowels because I invert my vowels all the time, and that's something that throws me off. Spelling, can't spell at all that kind of stuff. But the words swimming off the page and circling your head, that's a very stereotypical way to describe what happens with dyslexia. And I'm 99.9% sure there is another condition that is that. But dyslexia itself is the interpretation of words off a page into your brain and then back out of your brain. So it's not exactly correct in what is actually happening with dyslexia, but at least we have some representation. But
the author tried.
He tried.
He got really close.
Good job, Rick. You tried, but
Uncle Rick, good job.
But also, when this was written, there wasn't as much information out about dyslexia as there is now, and it wasn't as well understood either. So there's that.
Yeah.
It's better understood now. And it's so hard to describe what happens because, like, sometimes you don't know. It's a misfiring of something in your brain. It's a misconnection. It just doesn't make sense. One day you can recognize a word, the next you can't. And a lot of times I notice with myself is I almost feel that pressure. So I see words that start a certain way and end a certain way, and I automatically fill in a word that makes sense in the context of the sentence, but it's not the correct word. And I don't know if that's something other people do or not, but that's something I've done. And so it's really difficult when I do that, but it still makes sense in the sentence, so I don't see myself doing anything wrong, but technically it's incorrect. And then, like, obviously the spelling thing, inverting vowels a lot, inverting consonants that are similar, like B's and D's, and what are the other ones? F's and S's, because they sound similar, is also something that can happen, I think. But yeah. So it's... how it's described is not necessarily how it happens for everyone, and I'm pretty sure that's technically another diagnosis now, but also I don't even remember when this book was published, but it was a while ago, so that could have changed since the book was published too. See, when was it published? 2005, yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
So there have been some advances in the studies.
Indeed.
Since then.
A lot of dyslexic talk. Very nice.
Yeah, well,
Indeed.
We don't want to spread misinformation.
Indeed, absolutely. Yeah.
Which, of course, this is all based
Very
on
interesting talk.
things that I have found personally, things that I have experienced personally, and what I've been told by psychiatrists who've done evaluations on me through school. So, may not be 100% accurate, and obviously everyone's different with how they process things, so it could be a multitude of different processing things as well, but dyslexia is ultimately a processing disorder, I believe. So anyway, there's my tangent, there's my TED Talk. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen reviews of the movie, and I can honestly tell you that the first 2 chapters happen in like the first 5 minutes of the film. And yeah,
it's honestly they don't even have the Fates in there. They have Mrs. Dodds in there, but obviously it's a book, it's a movie, so they're trying to focus on like the action, all that kind of stuff.
True.
They have Grover freaking out trying to walk Percy home, but other than that, they don't really have much in there. They don't have the allusions to Mr. Brunner being someone. They just kind of randomly pop him up later on when he shows up again in the book. They pop him up at that same time in the movie, and he's just something different. Someone different. Sort of. I don't know how to explain that. I'm not going to give it away, though.
I'll say this, too. I mean, I kind of connected with Percy, not as a, what is it? Dyslexic or ADHD person, but I mean, I had problems in school. I have problems in school right now. Like, I don't want to do the stuff that I need to do, but
you got to.
I got to, yeah. And whenever people, I associate that more, if him not getting his work done, with like depression or anxiety or something.
Well, yeah, when he talks about like the ants in his shirt feeling too after getting that reading, a lot of people with dyslexia get that too.
Yeah.
Just that anxiety around reading, and anyone with an anxiety disorder too would get that. But
yeah, I think it's like
he's a very relatable character.
Yeah, he's like what is it? It's because everyone just tears him down whenever it's like, oh, it never existed, but he knows that she did exist. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Well,
and then the frustration with school stuff and everything like that totally related to.
Then throwing a fit at this other person, telling like, hey, you can't come back, and you're like, I don't even care anymore.
Well, and then the fact that he's been through so many schools and they just brush him off as a delinquent kid, send him to a delinquent school, blah, blah, blah. And it's really all because he has ADHD and dyslexia. Like, those are the things that are causing the problems, and they're not being helped or addressed. And unfortunately, it is that way for a lot of people in school systems. I was lucky enough to have a mom who knew what was going on and fought for me to have what I needed.
Yeah.
So,
Same here.
it's sad to see that, but I know that happens in real life too. And they make that kind of a theme with the demigod children too, is that school isn't really a thing that works for them and that kind of stuff, which obviously they get educated somehow, but like
Yeah. It also
regular school is not a good thing for them.
It also is kind of weird, I think. And it's probably going way out of on a left tangent, whatever, but dyslexic people, from my experience, have been a lot smarter than regular idiots out there. Because,
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because you're a nurse, right?
Well, a nursing student,
Yeah,
but
you're a
yes.
nursing student. You're
A lot
getting
of times we get treated like we're different, and therefore, because we're different,
the
we're
underdogs.
stupid, or dumb, or can't produce, or can't do that thing. I was told by teachers growing up that I was stupid and I was dumb and I couldn't do anything. And of course, if you get told that at a young age, you're not going to want to do anything.
Yeah, but you're the underdog, right? You're gonna get back up.
Well,
Like,
it
I
makes
know-
you want to fight harder too.
Yeah.
When you get pushed down like that, you're like, "Listen, we're not playing that game. I'm gonna show you
Yeah,
all I can do."
I know
And when
this.
you're given the tools to do them, you can. But if you're not given the tools or you're just shut down, it makes it harder, which is kind of what Percy's going through right now.
Yeah. Also, I know this other kid who is like a month older than me in high school, who I won't name for privacy reasons or whatever, but he was dyslexic, right? And he had his own like real estate company when he was like in freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was given like couple of trailers when he was, I don't know, in 7th grade, and just started his own business of doing all that thing. He's still working at it right now. That's how he gets money. That's how he pays his college. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So you're definitely 100% capable, no matter your disability.
Yeah.
You can do anything and everything you put your mind to. You may just have to go about it a different way. That's the thing that it's hard for people to understand when you go about something a different way, but you're still able to do it, or they see your disability on paper and automatically assume you're going to be a certain way. Then you walk in and you're not, and you end up doing the best on the test or whatever, or if it's given to you in a different format, like a lot of dyslexics, auditory is a strength for them. So if they hear it, they're going to remember it. If they hear it, they can answer the question no problem. But if they see it and read it or have to write it, it's not good. So it's just that kind of thing.
Indeed. Anyway, guys, that's our review / breakdown of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief.
/ TED Talk of dyslexia, because
Indeed.
this was a heavy chapter for that.
Oh yeah. Of chapter 2, whatever the thing is, Lightning Thief, whatever the chapter's name is.
You want the chapter title?
I forgot
It's
again.
3 old ladies. Yeah, 3 old ladies knitting the socks of death.
There you go. What do you guys think of the chapter? What do you guys think of this talk? Comment, let us know, subscribe, ring that bell.
If there are any dyslexics out there, please reach out.
Indeed.
Literally, I want to know I'm not the only one who thinks I'm crazy half the time.
Yep.
That may not be from the dyslexia, though.
Indubitably. And for all those out there, I'm Slam.
I may.
And we'll catch you on the flippity flop kind, folks. Next chapter next week. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
No songs.
Yeah.
No.